Welcome, everyone. This is Latasha Scurry, your domesticated diva, and I am here tonight to talk to you. I have a very special guest and colleague. Her name is Pamela Holmes, and she's in an interracial marriage. I am not going to talk much about it because she can introduce herself better than anyone I know. And you know how we do this on Wednesday night. I give you a topic, I bring on a guest, we have a conversation, and it is just very informative. Somebody else may be going through this. If you have something that you want to share, just hit me up on my DM and I will definitely get back with you. So I am going to bring on my guest tonight, and here we go. Welcome, Miss Holmes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I am so happy to have you here with me tonight. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you're a very good speaker. So you go ahead and do it, okay?
Okay. So my name is Pam, and I have been married to my husband Charles now for 2 years. We've been together for six, and I have a 17-year-old son from a previous relationship who is biracial. So his father was also African American,
Okay.
and
Now,
we
you know
live
what?
down in Casco.
Okay. You
Okay.
shared some very good information with me that was background. Your mother is what? Your grandmother is what?
So my grandmother is a member of the PD Indian Nation of Upper South Carolina. You can Google them. They do have a mixed heritage. So to much of the outward world, she does present herself as a black woman, or she did. She's no longer with us. My grandfather was white, which made my father multiracial himself, and so looking like I do. I'm probably the fairest of my family, and so it's always interesting growing up because people look at you and see me as one way, and they don't know that I have a whole side of my family that doesn't necessarily resemble me.
Okay.
My son fits in better than I do.
Okay. And I really I saw the picture and I don't want to say shocked, but it was very interesting to see how dark her skin was. And
Yes.
and and you are very correct when you say you are very much fairer than she is. But you know what? You're African American. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm just sorry to tell you, Miss Holmes. Okay.
um,
All
it's just
right.
it's just interesting because like when I was growing up, it was always very obvious to me. And I know that my grandmother now is an older, now that I've gotten older, she had to necessarily try to pass as white, especially like when her and my grandfather got married, they actually had to move away from where they originally were living, which is how they came to live in Florida. And it wasn't until I was older that I would ask her questions, like what was it like, what did people mean to you? But by that time, she had started to get dementia. And she would say, well, what do you mean? Why would they look at me? Why would people be mean to me? And so she was always very coy in answering questions. She holds really tightly to the Indian, her Native American ancestry. But as I've gotten older, you can't really separate that from the African ancestry that's in there, as well as some of the settlers that were in there. So they very much are a mixed race tribe, and when you look at them, it's very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deny it. And so it's always, like I said, been very interesting just growing up because to me it was obvious, but everyone around me was like, no, 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 we're white. And then I know that my mom had faced some backlash when she married my father, like from some members of her family, even though um, he would proclaim that he was white. So
Okay. All
it's always
right.
interesting.
Okay. All right. So we're here to talk about your marriage. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you're getting feedback on my end as well.
No,
You're
no.
not getting. I'm getting just a little bit of feedback from your microphone. I don't know. Um,
What about now?
no, it's still there.
I wonder if it's my earrings.
I don't have a pair of AirPods, so I don't know.
I bet it's my
I
earrings.
haven't
Like,
ventured over to the AirPod world yet.
I bet it's the earrings, like ticking the mic.
Okay. Let me see. Say
What about
something.
now? Yes.
It's still there a little bit, but it's a little
Oh,
bit better. It's a little bit
okay.
better. It's a little bit better. All right. So, you've given a little bit of background. How did you and your husband meet?
We actually met on Tinder, and so
So
yes,
it
we
works.
met. Yeah, for it's like we met on Tinder, and then we met while he was stationed here because he was in the Air Force, and then he had two other stations in between before he moved back.
Okay. Did you know him before Tinder?
Yeah, we completely
No.
met on Tinder. Did not run in any of the same circles, nothing.
Oh, okay. Now, how
Yeah.
did your friends receive the news?
Um, with me dating him, they were not surprised. I mean,
Okay.
I can tell you what it was like when I was a teenager. People were shocked. In college or when I got pregnant, I would hear, you don't look like you date black guys. And it was like, I don't know, like, what that means. Like, what do you have to look like to date a black man? Like, that was always something I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I got pregnant with my son, my stepfather, who raised me, he did not speak to me for a year and a half.
No.
And yeah, he raised me from the time I was 7 months old.
Oh man, that must have hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, it tarnishes what should have been, a good memory because
Yeah.
you can never forget that. And so,
Yeah.
like, I know that he feels terrible and he tried to make it, he's done, well to make it up with my son when he was born. He was always very good to him. But, that's a really, hard thing to kind of deal with,
Yeah.
especially when
And
you're pregnant and like emotional and things like that.
yeah. You can always forgive, but it's hard to forget. It really
Yeah.
is. Okay. I'm
So,
sorry you experienced this. So that that leaves me into how did the family, any other family members treat you differently?
no, I wouldn't say so. Well, my cousins, which ironically, considering that on my grandmother's side, like, and I would say, have you seen Nana? Like you are not white. Like you look white, but you are not white.
Right.
And in a different time period, people would be throwing that in your face that you are not white.
Right.
And
Okay.
so it was always so mind-boggling to me because his father was an engineer. There's nothing objectively wrong with him. Like there was
Right.
nothing on face value that you could say was a negative. And
And so
so,
it's just people's perspective and probably it's how they were brought up. It depends on the time period and everything as well because racism is still alive and it goes from not just white to black, it goes from black to black. I experienced a
mm-hmm,
little bit of it today and I had to be reminded that a black lady called me out and I was just like, whoa, are you serious right now?
wow,
Yeah, she was
mm-hmm,
serious. So I was like, okay. But it's everybody's mindset and some people just don't get it. Love is love. It has no color. It
yeah,
has no color. If you like somebody, you like somebody. And I would think in 2022, 2023, 2020 that we wouldn't be experiencing this, but it's happening.
yeah,
It's happening. And
oh,
so
absolutely.
now, who was the most supportive?
My mom has always been extremely supportive of me. Obviously, that's your mom.
Yeah.
Um, when she knew that my son was going to be born biracial, she was very proactive and like
Okay.
making sure that comments were not made. Because, like I said, she herself had a little bit of that
Yeah.
when she married my father. And there's an element of colorism in that. She would say that certain people always expressed that they were happy that I was born with straight hair and not his hair, or that they were happy I was born paler than he was. Um, so she was very adamant that that was not going to happen with my son. Even like I would say, kind of to the extreme, like she didn't want people to buy items that had like monkeys on them because she felt like it would be um, like a veiled insult, and so she was really adamant about that.
It happens. I remember I was in Walmart with my youngest daughter. She was might have been 2 weeks old. No, she was a little older than that. And an older white lady walked up to me and said, "Oh, she's still so fair skinned. How beautiful!" I was like, "Oh!" I was
Yeah,
like, "Okay, okay, I'm sorry." So I know how this all plays out, and my both my daughters have like really really light eyes, almost hazel, if you would.
mm-hmm.
And we were in International Mall, and the guy walked up to me. He was selling hair straighteners, and he says, "Hey, are they mixed?" I said, "Yes, with their mom and dad."
Mhm.
So, I mean, how else do you react to that when
Yeah.
they're just a little bit lighter? That's about it. So, in your marriage, tell me, how has it affected your son being biracial? Is there anything that has ever made him feel uncomfortable or
He has expressed before when he was younger, like one time when he was little, he said that he wanted to be whiter, and so it kind of hurts your heart. And so I bought him some books about black is beautiful and love my skin, and his father's family was very instrumental in helping to instill a sense of pride. And I think that it kind of swung the other way because he would start saying things like, "You should put more self tanner on, mommy, so you can be tan like me." But he
reverse?
does get, yeah, he does get asked though, especially when he was younger, like, is he adopted? Did I adopt him? Am I the nanny? Um, which is weird because he has my face.
Yeah.
It's my face. He's just brown. And so I think that would bother him. People have asked him sometimes, do you speak English? When we went to get his
And he's
driver's
Hispanic.
license, when we went to get his driver's license, the clerk looked at me and said, "So does he speak English?" And we were there with his American passport, his American birth certificate, and a very obviously, white-looking mother, and it was, "Does he speak English?" Yeah.
We go all around the world, don't we? We go all around the circle, don't we? And it just comes back to um, ignorance.
Yeah.
Just
And I know,
ask the
like,
right question. Ask the
when
right
he worked
question.
when he worked at the grocery store, he often get asked in Spanish if people could help him, if he could help them find things in the store. And so I don't think that was coming from ignorance, but I mean, I don't, I'm not in his shoes, but I imagine that it might be kind of frustrating for people to always look at you and assume that you are something that he is not, because we are many things, but we are not Hispanic. And so the things, but
Okay.
so
I like
I
it.
mean, I don't know if that bothers him because he kind of laughs
Okay.
it off because he's very good natured, but I would imagine it might be frustrating at some point to be asked that all the time. Or when
Wow.
his friends would see me, they would say, "That's your mom?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's mom." They're like, "You're mixed?" And he's like, "Yeah." So,
Jesus. Okay.
yeah,
I don't know. I'm gonna leave that to you. Okay. I'm sure you handle it very diplomatic.
we just smile. I mean, I had like my littlest cousin one time asked, "Why is he brown and you're not?" And I said, "Because his dad is brown." And for her, that was a good enough answer.
Oh, you just went out. You just sound like the Matrix.
Well, I
I'm
said
wondering,
that
is your microphone on your computer on as
I am on
well?
my phone.
Oh,
I can
okay.
turn it off. I can take these headphones out though.
Yeah, it might help. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Does that help?
Yes. Now just move them away from the phone as far as possible. you got to turn you got to turn the Bluetooth off. I think I lost you. I'm
No,
sorry,
you didn't.
guys.
Can you
Oh,
hear me?
oh, you sound perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yay. Okay. And so it's as long as you've been married, do you it's only been 2 years, but you've dated black guys. Do you still get looks in 2022?
Yes. And I was hoping you were going to ask this question. So my husband did not grow up in the United States. He was a
Oh,
military brat. He spent less than 5 years of his childhood total in the U.S.
okay.
Um, so he does not have the same experiences with interracial dating that I had growing up in a very small southern town. And so
Where's that?
sometimes he misses the looks. So I grew up in Highlands County, Florida.
Okay. I'm not familiar with
So it's a town about 8,000 people, um, heavily, very, very conservative. When I was in high school, my car was keyed and they wrote N word lover on it with a marker. Yeah. So I was like
it.
16.
I would not know how to react to that. I would be very distraught, probably crazy and erratic. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So, okay. So he is not as adept at picking things up. So we just moved to this new area and we went to Bob Evans for breakfast. And there's a lot of older people that live down here. And so I always get these older white men looking me in the eye with this just mean, hateful look. And once they make eye contact, they'll just make their face and then look away. And so my husband is a little oblivious, but I know exactly what that look is because I've seen it
So many times.
since I was 16.
Oh my Jesus. This is 2022, people. Do they not understand that?
Yeah.
Like I said, love
And I
has no
also wanted to
color.
share that I sold my house that I had prior to me getting married. We just sold it. And my house, the appraiser came early. I was not home. So my husband and my son were home. And the appraiser stayed 7 minutes and she appraised my home for less than any other home that was being sold, even though I had a brand new kitchen. She checked the box and said that my home had no renovations, even though we just, like I said, put a new kitchen. And when I finally got the inspection report and I got her name, I looked her up on Facebook and she was, I hate to say it, but she was like really conservative, Trumper, I guess is what you would call her. And so, while my husband wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, it's like, so I hired my own inspector and made them leave the house, and my house came back almost 17,000 higher.
So it shows up in the business arena as well.
Yeah.
That is incredible. Oh my gosh. I feel almost I no, I don't almost. I feel disgusted. I'm sorry. I feel disgusted for you because that's just
Yeah.
nonsense. Your personal feelings should not show up in the business world. It just shouldn't. And
Yeah.
I have a
I mean,
problem with people.
there was
It's
no difference between the appraisals other than the fact one was with two black men in the house and one was with one white woman. That was
bingo.
the only difference.
Bingo. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. That shouldn't be happening. And next time you sell your house, come to me. I'm studying to be a real estate realtor, okay? Realtor. I really am. I don't know. I have
Yeah.
5 years
I
left in
mean,
education.
I only ended up losing a few thousand off the sale because of the way the contract was initially written. So I'm in the process because you can file a complaint with the housing, federal housing, because
That's what I
appraisals are
did.
covered because there is a lot of research on appraisal discrimination, um, and
Bingo.
how um, people of color's homes are consistently appraised at lower values. And so,
Okay, so I want everybody who's watching to take note, okay? She just gave you some information that is very valuable. So whenever don't take the first appraisal, get it and then get you somebody else just to make sure because what she's giving you is knowledge. You are discriminated based on the color of your skin and she just gave you a great example. One was with appraisal was with two black men home, one was with her and it came in higher. So guys, if nothing else, I want to say there are a lot of people that are oblivious to what goes on in interracial marriages. One is my youngest daughter. I just want to marry my white man. I just want to wear. Okay, that's fine. Are you ready for what comes with that? And I'm not knocking you because love has no color. If you ask me, I don't see color when I see people, and I've always been that way. And but you still have to be real about it, okay? And what you just shared with me is some good information because it's especially when I'm trying to be a realtor, you know what I'm saying? So
mhm.
people who are watching, yeah, please make sure you are listening. Now, I don't want to go just yet, but if you had to give somebody some advice who was entering an interracial marriage or relationship dating, what's the best piece of advice you could give them?
So I would say I'm just going to speak for white women, who have spent their life not experiencing discrimination firsthand. Um,
Mhm.
you don't experience it, and so I could see it sometimes with my paternal side of my family, but there's no one who looks at me and says anything other than white. And so I'm well aware of that. And so when you're entering that, you have to be prepared to, sometimes have conversations that are uncomfortable and examine your own biases that you have within you. And you have to prepare sometimes to be quite shocked at what other people are capable of, because, you know, I have a white brother. And so his experience learning to drive was completely different than my son's experience learning to drive. The conversations that I had to have with him, that I had to go out and
Yeah.
seek from other people, because I don't know how to give him that advice. You know, the things. And so, you know, and having to have conversations with my brother about the way that he was speaking in the car once, when the police came to the accident scene, because while he could get away with that, my
Right.
son was watching, and that was not a way that my son would ever be able to behave. And so for him, it was eye-opening.
Okay.
Also, the fact that, you know, I get offended if people are looking at us a certain way, or, you know, when I was so angry about the housing appraisal, but that's something that is very minute, and that's not day after day after day after
Okay.
day.
Good.
You know,
Good.
like when my
Good.
son was in Little League, we had an issue where I felt the coach was being unfair, and his dad was like, well, get used to it. Like, that's nothing. He's like, that's nothing compared to what's coming.
Oh, wow. Okay. So have you ever experienced it on the black end where black people have treated you
Oh
differently?
yes. I mean, my son's father's family, some of them were not as kind. Um, you know, some, obviously whenever he would get mad at me, he would call me a cracker bitch, or yeah, like, you know,
Jesus.
just, you know, so it's hard to separate whether they were angry, because, you know, of the circumstances at the time, or if they were truly hateful toward me. But as I got to know, you know, like his mother was one of the first integrated classes at a high school, and she had a horrendous time.
Yeah.
So that has colored her own experience
Right.
with people
Absolutely.
who look like me.
Right.
So I try, you know, as I've gotten older now, I'm a little more reflective of that. And
Hmm.
you know, and it's like, I read one time a woman who said that she was also in a relationship that her husband was black, where she would get sometimes so frustrated she would go to a different part of town by herself so she could sit and eat without being looked at or being stared at.
Oh,
And that's great and everything that you can do that, but you can do that, whereas my son, he can't do that, my husband can't do that.
right.
You
Oh,
know.
jeez. And it's and we do it all in the name of love. And if you have stamina and you can really, I guess, withstand it, you're a great human being. Because I'm not saying I've been approached by white men to date me. I've always been afraid of the backlash. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I've always been afraid of exactly what you're saying. How my family is gonna receive it. Now, my brothers support me regardless of what happens in my life. They don't care. Long as they treat the guy would treat me nice, because I've had this conversation. But my parents are a little bit older. No, not a little bit, a lot older, the 80s. My mom sees no color. And I just have a feeling my dad would not be receptive. I just know him and I know his personality. I think that's the only place that I would have gotten backlash. And I'm just be honest with you.
Hmm.
So my fam and I have right now, but I have lots of people that are in interracial marriages in my family. But for my immediate family, it would have been my dad. It would have been my dad. And
Hmm.
so I was always afraid to try it just because of him, really. But I've always been approached, and I mean, some good looking. I ain't gonna. I, I'm
Hmm.
telling you, Miss Holmes, okay. But I had to think back in my head. My dad. So I just didn't do it because of him. So is there anything else that really sticks out in your mind that you can share with people that just be cautious of?
I mean, some things that you experience are like shocking. Like I shared with you, at the school I worked at, a parent complained about my son's picture on the wall because of, you know, she didn't want to have to explain to her daughter why he looked so much different than me. And when the daughter asked, I said, well, he's black. You know, his dad is black. And the assistant principal actually entertained that conversation, and that to me was the most hurtful thing, because I felt like that conversation should never have been entertained. Like, this was not 1955, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And so I actually ended up filing a complaint and leaving that school at the end of the year, because I just remember leaving and just crying. And it was like that anyone could be offended. And it was like a preschool picture of him, like a little cute. Like he had a lei on, a Hawaiian lei. It was beach day. And I just remember being so shocked that anybody could find that in any way whatsoever
Be
offensive.
offensive. Yeah, you shared that with me. I wasn't going to bring it up. I wanted you to bring it up, and I'm glad you did because that has bothered me. I can tell you when I did share that with my husband. His mouth said, I said, close your mouth, baby. Close your mouth. And he said,
Yeah.
this is unfortunately the world we live in. And if you are strong, I'm gonna tell you, you are very strong because some of the stuff I'd have been in jail by now. I'm telling you right now, I'd have been
Yeah.
in jail because I have a high tolerance for a lot of things, but my pet peeve in life is racism. Okay, I can't deal with racism on no forms of it, no level of it, and I have a hard time with it. So that's why I was when somebody told me you were in a racial, I sought you out because I wanted to have this conversation. People, racism is not okay. Just like if you gay, you be gay. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life, but one thing about it, you can't put a color on love. You can't put uh ethnicity on love. Love is love. I don't care who it is, where it is. Just love who you with because you know what? Not everybody in my race cares for me. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody in your race cares for you. But if you find somebody who love you, I don't care if they Chinese or they a goat. Love them, okay? Because that's who loves you back. And I'm really disappointed in the world. And people know how I am. There was a little white girl in my high school, and I'm gonna be honest, a predominantly black high school. We might have 4 or 5 white kids in there, and they used to Tony Brown. If you still alive, you know me, can remember Latasha Bird. They used to badger that little girl to death. And one day I just said, enough. I said, baby, you gonna share lockers with me. And I walked that girl to class every day. I said, stop picking on her. My gosh, she's just a human. She don't have a disease. She don't have anything wrong with her. Leave her alone. Racism bothers me. Really. It's a form of stupidity. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said that. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. But it is to me. And
Hmm.
it's ignorant. It is ignorant. So I am so glad you came to talk to me. I want you to tell your husband he has a special lady. Tell your son he has a special mom. And you just continue to be in you, okay?
Okay.
Love your husband, tell him, love your son, wrap your arms around him and tell him, listen, mama love you. I don't care what color you are. You can be green, okay?
Now he knows that.
And that parent, I am so sorry that you felt that way, but I'm sure you have your own issues that you need to deal with, okay? So,
Hmm.
Miss Holmes, anytime you want to come back, you want to talk about your family, you want to bring them on and show them off, Miss Scurry will have you, okay?
Okay.
And I need to stop calling you that. Pamela! Pamela, I'm calling you Miss Holmes. I'm sorry. Pamela, you
Yeah.
want to ever come back? Come back. All right. We are always here Wednesday night live. Anybody want to have a conversation with me? You know how to reach me in the DM. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Miss Holmes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.